Hey guys, it's Nicole. I am up for the Spotlight Sunday video. So for the first portion, I just kind of wanted to sit down and maybe share a couple things about myself or just background type stuff. And then I thought it would be kind of fun to can post some pages that I've done recently on my channel, and then I can even post some older stuff depending on what I have access to. And then I can do a quick overview of my scrapbook room. I can't really go into, or I don't want to go into detail of my room, mostly because it's a hot mess right now and nothing really has like a home. So I participate on a private message board, and they recently started a big organizing challenge type thread, like taking each portion of your room and kind of making it work so that by the time you're done in 30 seconds you can get to what you need to get to, you know where it is, and that type of thing. So for me this summer, that is going to be my project. So I can probably do a more in-depth room share at that point. A few things about myself. I am from Southern Nevada. I have pretty much lived here my entire life, pretty much all I know. I kind of think it's weird when I hear about people living in communities that are not 24/7. Like, I've always been able to, if you need to run to Walmart at 3 a.m., that's an option. Went to school here. Fun fact, I got married right out of high school, still married. We decided to have kids 8 or 9 years into our marriage, so we have Jacob, who's almost 5, and Sarah just turned 3, which in my mind was a pretty good gap. Turned out that Jacob is petite average size and Sarah is in the same size clothes, shoes, and only about a half an inch shorter than him. So I'm kind of waiting for the morning that she wakes up and is bigger than him. So that kind of keeps life interesting. As far as how I got started in scrapbooking was pretty recently after I got married. My mother-in-law was a scrapbooker, is a scrapbooker, and I, as a child growing up and stuff, had always kind of done paper-based, like, art type stuff. In high school, I worked at Michael's and was kind of always sort of in crafts, and so it was kind of a natural thing for me to get into, especially sort of with her push. So we'd go shopping together, and at the time we had anywhere between 5 and 8 scrapbook stores that were open here, so it was, you know, a good time as far as shopping and stuff. And I would say the first probably 6 or 7 years that I was a scrapbooker, I was basically a shopper. I wasn't really producing a whole lot of anything, and I don't even really know why. I wasn't really taking that many pictures. This was right around when digital cameras were just sort of becoming more and more popular. So I know as I transitioned into digital photography, I was taking a lot more photos. It wasn't until I had my son that I really just kind of reevaluated everything. I did a big purge in my room, and I really only kept stuff that I liked or I thought I could use, or looking at it got like an immediate, this is what I want to do with it. So over the last few years, I have really bumped up my, I guess, output, I would say, which makes me feel better, I guess, about all the things in my room. And I am the type of scrapbooker that I don't necessarily go with what's trending or what's popular. Like, doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it. Like, I am completely obsessed with YouTube, and I'll get into that in a minute. I watch all kinds of people that scrapbook a completely different style than myself, and I still enjoy it. I still like hearing why they're doing what they're doing, what they like about it, that type of thing. But what's trendy right now, I notice, is tiny photos, or maybe one photo, like a focal photo on a single page layout, and then you've got awesome techniques or lots of layers and embellishments. And that's something for me that I've just never gravitated towards. I've never maybe understood, or just, I think it's kind of like clothing. Like, you either are really into this style or you just are kind of jeans and t-shirt type of person, which is me. I have always taken too many photos, so I try to get as many photos on a layout as possible, and that's typically a double page layout. So after I had had my son, cruising around the internet, I came across a store in Missouri called Scrapbook Generation, and they had page kits that you could subscribe to where they would send you the product, and you could go on their blog and you could take the sample photos and print them however you wanted to, and between the sketch and the photos recreate the layouts. This was like the light bulb for me to go off. I was getting so much stuff done. They also, I'm sure a lot of you know, they do sketchbooks, they do free sketches. For 2 years they had a free online magazine that was awesome. They always featured a different manufacturer. The second year they did a design team call to fill in some gaps that they had, and I applied and I didn't make it, which, okay, no, it wasn't like devastating or anything like that, but they did email me and they wanted to do an article because they were doing like scrapbookers next door type of thing. So there was 6 or 7 of us that they had interviewed and we provided photos for, and they wrote up articles, and it was more of getting to know other scrapbookers around the country and just kind of, you know, this is what a typical person in their home does, or what their layout is, that type of thing. So that was fun. So after I found the kit subscription, and I'm still a subscriber to it, I then branched into their sketches, and from there I just kind of snowballed into other things. I was on a design team for Nuts About Sketches, which I don't think the blog is active anymore. I think the girl that was doing the sketches is now at Sketches in Time or something similar. But I was finding that I liked the guidelines within a sketch. I've never been the type of scrapbooker that I can just kind of sit down with photos and kind of just organically figure it out. I have to either have a layout kit that I'm following or a sketch that is giving me enough to jump off of as far as like paper placements and stuff like that. And then sketches especially, I tend to purposely lose on my desk after I've kind of gotten the basics laid out, and then do my own thing. And that's what I'm comfortable with. I don't think that I'll ever be the type of scrapbooker that is just blank slate, comes up with something completely amazingly creative, and I think that that's okay. I think I am a lot like most people at home. So I find it completely awesome when somebody will comment on my channel and say, you know, hey, I subscribe to those same kits, or I really like the way that you look at a sketch, and kind of stick with it and you don't go crazy. Like, I like hearing from other people that are similar. I think it makes you not necessarily feel better about your choices, but just kind of knowing that there's other people out there with similar styles. So that's pretty much what I like to do. I like doing layout kits. I like following sketches. Every once in a while I will kind of do my own thing, but it usually will stem from like an idea that I've come up with, and I will almost always make my own sketch based on what like I'm picturing in my mind. So I'm still following a sketch even if it's one that I've drawn. And then my absolute favorite thing to do is to scrap lift, and I mean like scrap lift to the point of down to the same like stickers and brads, because for years like I have always looked at inspiration pieces online or videos online, and I've been like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, I want to make what she just made. And I think that that's exactly why we share. I think it's nice to put things out there and to know that somebody else is inspired enough to either you know, completely scrap lift it, or to maybe just take bits and pieces of it. And I've kind of done varying levels of scrap lifting where, you know, I've either completely copied like the same layout and just used my own photos, or I've taken different elements within that page and maybe scrap lift heavier on the journaling part of that page and then kind of did my own thing for the photos. But scraplifting is something that I just love. There's so much inspiration out there that it's hard not to see somebody share something and be like, oh, don't have those papers, but I can pull these papers, and I've got these photos sitting here, and I really like the way that, you know, she did her title and how she arranged her photos, and boom, I'm gonna go take my stuff and I'm gonna use her layout and I'm gonna scrap lift it, and I think it's fun. And by doing scrap lifts, I've kind of learned techniques or styles that I'm like, oh, this is not for me, I'm glad I tried it, or I absolutely love this. I have kind of fallen in love with incorporating stamping in my layouts from a couple girls on YouTube. I use more die cuts and stuff like that, so I think that's fun. Some of my absolute hands down favorite inspirations were, especially when two pieces up, was Nicole McGork and Jen Gallagher. I just really liked, they always had very colorful layouts, and Nicole McGork was more like lots of photos and not a lot of bulk, so I was kind of drawn more towards that. But then I've probably scrap lift Jen Gallagher more. I don't know why. I scrap lifted a couple of her pages when I was on a Kit Club design team, and they would send me, she was so sweet. I mean, she would send us the stuff to work with, and I'm not the type of scrapbooker that works well with a kit, come to find out. But I would get, you know, like a certain supply, like 3-dimensional flowers, and boom, Jen Gallagher was the one that I like immediately thought of. I would go find one of her videos and I would be like, oh, she used these like completely effortlessly. I'm gonna try to scrap lift this layout and see if I can kind of do something similar. And it worked out for me. Some of my favorite pages were scrap lifts. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot of videos from me on Saturdays for scrap lifts and Thursdays, probably just because of the sketches. I know I was on Mix It Up, oh no, I was on Free Flow Wednesday a couple days ago, and I ended up just doing another month in review layout. I just kind of was like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to embrace the mentality of Free Flow Wednesday and go with it. Another thing that I kind of wanted to touch bases on is just to share that over the last couple of years I have sort of embraced this mentality of doing what works for me, not getting sort of sucked up into the hype of what's popular or buying something just because everybody on YouTube is buying it. I just have sort of gotten comfortable in this. No, this is what I like. I am staying true to what I like. I am making what I have work for me within the constraints of things that I like to do. And that may not necessarily be what is on trend or what everybody else is doing. And I think that that's perfectly okay. And I think a lot of people sometimes just kind of need to hear that it's okay to be true to you and to be true to your creative process and that type of thing. And just, you know, if you are like me and you can't just sit down with absolutely no starting off point and kind of come up with something that you like, then I would suggest do a sketch. Find somebody on YouTube that inspires you. Scrap lift, you know, that type of thing. Finding the scrapbooking community on YouTube really skyrocketed my production level. Like before, I would just kind of, when I had a chance, I'd get, you know, a layout or two done. Once I decided to do my own videos and to start posting, I was kind of more on a, okay, I want to be able to post by this date and by this date, or I want to put up this type of content by this date. And it was really working my creative side and stuff like that. And I just was really enjoying it. I was a little nervous that nobody or not very many people would accept the sort of pre-designed layout kits that I like to do, and I was actually shocked. There's a lot of people that subscribe to the same kit, a lot of people that shop at that store, and a lot of people that use those same type of sketches, and they've told me over and over again, you know, please don't stop doing these videos and that type of thing. So I think I'll always have those type of videos on my channel as long as I'm subscribing to those kits, but I am trying to maybe stretch myself a little farther and do not only just more, but like a bigger variety. I recently uploaded a video on my channel about a class that I was going to teach at my local store and then it closed, so unfortunately I won't be doing that. I had gotten into teaching after I had my son, and I'll show some of those layouts here in a little bit. And I will say that for whatever reason, my store kind of had this bubble of what sold at the store was not at all what was on trend as far as online scrapbooking communities. So some of those layouts may not necessarily come across as super like creative or on trend or anything like that. They were very big on, you know, you'd have 3 or 4 matted photos, and you'd have an intricate die cut character and a title and ribbon and stuff like that. Similar to stuff that you see for sale on like eBay and Etsy. And that was okay. It was getting that part creatively like out of my brain. I liked doing them. I didn't like them necessarily for my own layouts, just because I like to do as many photos as I can, and sort of being limited to 3 wasn't going to work for me. But I loved making them. I loved designing my own cut files. I loved the monotony of the class prep, believe it or not. It like satisfied the nerd in me. So I had a lot of fun doing that, and I was really sad when they closed. So I'm sort of shifting into doing some different series on my channel where I pulled product into like a mini kit, and I'm going to be showing sort of my process for killing this kit, which is going to include scrap lifts, sketches, and then things from my own brain. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out my channel for that. And then the other thing that I'm in the process right now of doing is a online self-paced class for 4x6 photos. Getting as many photos on a layout is just something that I really, really enjoy, and I know that there's others out there who are just kind of looking for different ideas as far as getting your 4x6 photos on a layout and not really looking flat or uninteresting or something like that. So I'm having a lot of fun going and creating the class content for that. So I'm hoping mid-May that I'll have that finished up. So I'm going to put my camera back up, and I may show you guys my camera mount only because it's kind of interesting in a DIY aspect. Not the typical camera mount that I see everybody else have. I will pull some classes that I had done in the past at my store. I'll try to find some older layouts, probably some stuff that I've done recently on my channel, and I may just pull out an album and kind of go through it. So I'm going to take you along on that process, and then probably towards the end I will just kind of do a quick tour of my room, not really like showing in depth of anything. So alright, so these are going to be layouts that were classes at my local store, and again, you have to realize that for whatever reason, my store the last probably 5 years was sort of just stuck in this is what they liked, this is what sold. There was a couple other teachers with slightly different styles, and this was just what sold in our area. So this was, I think, my first or second class there, so pretty basic. One of the few that I did add photos to, so this I'm just going to end up taking out of the sample bags and actually putting it into my layouts so I don't have to redo these photos. And then this one was also one of the first classes that I did there, and recently when I was going through my room I did see, I I have the replacement of this that my mind's eye sent to everybody because they had spelled this wrong. But this is an example of what would typically sell. And this one, they ended up bumping up the amount of kits a couple times, and most of them were sold. Every class that I did was sold out. A couple of them only had a couple kits that they would just put out in the store and sell. But everything had to be our own concept, and I would just kind of stick to this sort of, I would start out with like my big character, my title, I'd figure out where my photos were going to go, and then I would kind of go from there. And I don't want to open all these bags, but these cut files I created myself with the Silhouette software. So a lot of times I would just find a coloring book page and I would create my own sort of Cricut type cut file, so that I could alter them how I needed to. I remember this was a border file from the store that I would weld onto my photo mats. These were also files from the store. So this was kind of how I got this type of creative element out of my brain. This was a print and cut, and then I would always go and add stuff to them. So like all the letters and the paint splatters had glossy accents on them. I would always do glossy accents on the character's eyes, just kind of something to make it look more interesting when it's sitting on the wall at the store. This was another one that sold out, and she ended up pulling enough from the store. This was another one of those things where I combined a bunch of different files to make this big one. This was another coloring book page. These, I'm pretty sure, were a Tim Holtz embellishment pack. But, I mean, like I said, this is not currently trendy, but it's what was selling at my store, and I mean, like, selling. And the girls were a little sad that with the store closing, I wasn't going to be teaching anymore, and they were not going to be getting this brand type of class. So, but yeah, so a lot of times I would just put stickles on stuff. Glossy accents is like my go-to for making titles pop. So very different than what I personally like in my own albums, because I like to have tons and tons and tons of pictures, but it's still fun to create. Like this cut file took me 10 to 12 hours alone just to make the cut file for them and the giraffe that were all on an older coloring book page. But still fun. I still love looking at them. I'll be a little sad if they sell, but at the same time I can't just keep everything. Here was another one from last summer. And I mean, this would go up on the wall and people would sign up like immediately. And I have a couple examples of what did not sell. I had a girl version and a boy version for baby, and the only reason that these two did not sell was I didn't know at the time that she was considering closing, and shortly after she posted these, she ended up closing the store. So there was a couple times I tried to go a little bit more not cutesy. So this was one that I had posted 2 years ago, I want to say, whenever this Charmed Life collection from Simple Stories came out. This did not sell. So I kind of just tried to stick to the cutesy characters because those were the ones that people were signing up for. With that being said, this was one that I put up after Halloween this last year, and again, did not sell. I think it was too different than sort of the formula that worked for the store. So I'm a little sad that this sort of part of my scrapping is done, but at the same time I'm creatively stretching myself in other directions. I have a couple layouts that I had done for my sister's album, and this was while I was on the design team for Nuts About Sketches. So what I would do is I would combine a sketch from the ones that she sent the design team, and at the time I was on a design team for 3 Scrappy Boys, which was a kit club. So I would take the stuff that the kit club had sent me, and I would take the sketches that I was supposed to use, and I would sort of put them together and get both of my homework assignments done. And these were some layouts that really, really creatively stretched me, and it may not be, I would purposely use my sister's photos because I knew that she would like them no matter what they were, and I didn't want to have this feeling like if I didn't like something I would want to redo it. And this is probably as close as I have ever come to doing where you've got a single photo and you've got all this like pretty embellishments and layers and stuff. To me, it's still very structured, it's still very minimal as far as embellishments, but this was sort of me testing out that style, which I think is fun to do. I think it's fun to sort of branch out and test other styles. This was another one from Nuts About Sketches, which this was more comfortable to me. A 2-page layout with lots of photos was more comfortable to me. Again, I was able to incorporate some stamping, and then I tend to just, I'm much happier if I keep my embellishments minimal. If I sort of force myself to use more, I end up not liking it, which I'm finding kind of interesting lately. An example would be this one. I may end up redoing this layout. I may not. I don't know. To me, this is just, I think it's just unusual for me to see this many embellishments. But the previous ones that I showed, I do have process videos for. This, I did not do a process video because it just took me a long time to do it, and I wasn't sure if I was going to end up finishing the layout. So I did not end up doing a process video for this one. Alright, then I pulled some stuff that I have done here and there, just kind of however I wanted something to be done. This, I can't remember if it was based off of a sketch or not, but I really like putting stamping on the background of things. I like my titles, if I'm using letter stickers, to be mixes of different fonts, different colors, different textures, that kind of thing. I really like doing journaling strips. I kind of go through phases on that. This one is much older. I believe it may have been an example at my local store, but I liked running die cut letters through an embossing folder to give them some texture. I really like colored inking on stuff. Big fan of strips of paper, like border strips, that type of thing. This is one I'm pretty sure I did add a crop, and I'm noticing this is crooked, but whatever. But this is like me trying to do my own thing, and I'm thinking that I just don't like my personal style, which is kind of why I like sketches and I like scrap lifts and stuff like that. This is an example of a sketch class that I took. It was using 6x6 paper pads. So you were learning different ways to kind of use the paper pads, and then I just did very sort of minimal embellishments. And then I really like vellum, so for me I ended up writing my story on vellum and just putting it over the paper strips. So I'm hoping this is giving you guys an overview sort of my quote-unquote style that doesn't make sense. Okay, this one is already up on my channel. The series that I had mentioned before where I made a mini kit and I'm working through scrap lifts, sketches, and my own thing. This is a scrap lift from Laura Vegas, and I do have a process video for this. This one I still need to edit, and this was a sketch from, it was a free sketch from Scrapbook Generation. It was in their Create magazine. You can download them all off their website, and so this was my sketch portion of it. So then I'm gonna take the pieces left over from my kit, make my own couple of layouts, maybe do another scrap lift, that type of thing. Alright, so I'm going to try not to make everybody sick, but this is pretty much my main working area. And again, my room is pretty bad at the moment, so I'm not going to go into like anything crazy. I don't have anywhere downstairs to keep my albums, so I pretty much have everything just kind of in here, separated by year, and then I have some more albums coming. I buy the knockoff We Are Memory Keeper ones from Hobby Lobby. It's their store brand. To me, the price point or the price difference was enough for me to go with those. I bought a bunch of these shelving units from my store when they were closing. So right now this is just a holding place for different stuff I've got going on. These 3 are for my class. So I've got sketches and notes, different layouts that I finished. This is for that series on my channel that I'm doing. And then as far as my main desk, I'm kind of ridiculous. I don't really use anything in here. I do keep like sequins, enamel dots, sort of finishing touches in here, and letter stickers. And then I will admit, if there's a flat surface, I'm going to fill it up. So I try to give myself somewhere to put stuff. So I've got an ink pad tower thing, I can't think of what that's called here. And then I just try to keep stuff that I use all the time in here. HG obviously doesn't fit, and then I've got my blocks, and then like as I finish, I just kind of start shoving stuff over here. So like these are stamp sets that I actually need to wash the stamps for, put them back, and then put them away. But oh, and then my setup for how I film, let me see if I can step back a little bit. Okay, I don't have any ceiling lighting in this room. We're upstairs, and for whatever reason, we bought our house last year. There was no ceiling fan or light fixtures in the bedrooms. So I've got 2 different lights on, and I usually try to film during the day because, as you can see, I've got pretty good light up until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I do try to film during the day. If I have to film at night, I just try to put on as many lights as I can and hope nobody minds about the shadows. And then this setup is something that my husband came up with when I showed him how I wanted my camera over my desk. And at the time, nobody was really sharing how they were doing their setups. So I did not know what that like arm thing that comes down on your tripod was called, or that they were ridiculously cheap. Plus, at our old house, I was in our dining room, and I didn't want my kids bumping into it, so this was our solution. I have no idea what this is called. This is some conduit, which he uses at work, and I can end up pushing the whole thing over, like if I don't want it over my head, but I'm short, so I just kind of keep it out. And then this thing that he put here on the end, which I need to have him look at it because I noticed my videos are crooked. This is like a mount you would put on the front of a bicycle, like a pedal bicycle, and you would put like your GoPro camera on here or your video camera on here. So for whatever reason it works for me because I'm kind of able to swing this out. Although at this house I think I actually need him to give me a longer piece up here because it's not coming out as far as I would like. And then what I really like about it is it gives me the opportunity to, I keep my camera up here all the time, and I keep it plugged in all the time. So I don't have to worry about my battery going dead and having to charge it. And then I just keep my ink swatches hanging on here because I don't have a bulletin board yet. And then lately I've been making myself a checklist for the month. So like I have 2 videos for Crafty Maven this month that I needed to do, and some other stuff that I had on my to-do list. So this is pretty much where I scrap, and then we've got our desktop computer up here with me, so now it's easier for me to do my journaling. I don't edit videos on this computer anymore just because it's so old and so slow, so I usually just wherever I am in the house, I just drag my laptop around and edit that way. Again, I don't really have like homes for things that I like, so this is just kind of the mess that gets like moved around all the time. A lot of my stuff for my silhouette is in here. This is like stuff that I just tuck away until I can get the energy to deal with. I've been trying to figure out a different setup for my stamps that I like, and I'm liking these a little bit better. These I just got from the Dollar Tree. I have a bad habit of not finishing projects, so I've got, this is some stuff for that 6x6 class I need to finish working on, a bunch of photos I need to finish going through, and then these are the rest of those trays that I got from my store. So the last 2 weeks of March, the message board that I participate on, we did a big speed scrap challenge where it was get as much done as you could. So I went through and matched up as many of these pre-designed layout kits from Scrapbook Generation as I could. And a lot of them, you know, if there was 5 layouts in a kit and I matched up photos for 2, a lot of it is the other 3 layouts in here. Some of them were ones I matched up and didn't get to. But this is everything that I got done during those 2 weeks. I managed to get 22 double page layouts done in those 2 weeks. And then this, of course, is from my video a week or 2 ago. And then this storage setup has sort of gone with me everywhere. These are the bigger cubes that Crop in Style used to have. I kind of wish that I had bought more of these bigger ones. They're just sturdier and they don't squeak when you open and stuff. And then these are the ones that everybody pretty much has from Recollections. This is not all the paper that I have. This is just sort of my go-to. Like, most of this is Simple Stories, a little bit of Echo Park, my Mind's Eye Hoard, and then cardstock, vellum, and stuff like that. And then this is like layouts that need to be filed after I do my videos, stuff that I bought need to put away, this type of thing. And then I've got like sketch binders, magazines, stuff like that. But this is pretty much my setup. I'm not even going to open that closet door. I have a giant paper tower in there, but I also have boxes that I never unpacked because I did not have storage that I thought would work for me. So that's going to be my project this summer. So I'll probably be having some organizing videos on my channel. So yeah, that's it.